Claude just dropped two brand new features this week, and they're going directly at OpenClaude's biggest advantages. So here's what just happened. Claude now has remote control, as you can see right here. And essentially that means you can kick off a task on your computer, walk out the door, and keep controlling Claude from your phone. That means no more having to work at your desk with Claude. And then they also released scheduled tasks. Now, this is a new update for Claude Cowork, which means you can schedule recurring tasks inside there. That means Claude can now wake up every single morning and automatically do your work before you even open up your laptop. And if that sounds familiar, it's because that's basically what made OpenClaude so special. So today we're asking the big question: does Claude, with these two new features, compete with OpenClaude, or does OpenClaude still win? We're going to go live, test both of them side by side, and just see how they perform. Now, in the meantime, the other thing that you can do is you can go over to Claude using the desktop version. And they actually recently released, I think it was last month, Claude Cowork, right? Now, Claude Cowork is designed for anyone who's non-technical to be able to do tasks inside the computer, right? Now, with this new feature, you've got that power, but you can schedule it at any time. And the difference between something like, for example, OpenClaude versus using something like Claude Cowork is that Claude Cowork is obviously a lot more secure, whereas OpenClaude is something that is open source, and there's been cases where people had to be careful. So if we have a look at this example, you can see that I said create a scheduled task, and now we have this daily task running, and I just set it up once and then it's running forever. Now, the other cool thing about using something like Claude instead of OpenClaude is that it doesn't break so much, right? Here's the task, and it's running the scheduled news task, and it's actually automatically just going through the news, searching the web autonomously whilst I'm talking to you. I didn't ask it to do that. I just set up the scheduled task once, and now it runs every single day. It's pretty amazing. So for example, if you're using Claude Code anyway, or Claude Cowork anyway, then you can use this with your existing plan. So it's super powerful stuff, really amazing to use. You can see that it actually does pull in the latest information, the latest news, etc. It gives you these really useful reports. You can build apps, games, tools. You could even schedule tasks like, okay, you could say, right, I run the AI Profit Boardroom. This is the AI automation community that I'm building. Come up with 5 new ways or 5 new automations each day, or 5 new ideas that I could use to grow and get more customers, right? It's kind of like having an employee who never sleeps, never forgets anything, never complains, and just goes off and does stuff, right? So it's pretty scary how powerful this is. And honestly, it's way easier to set up than something like OpenClaude. OpenClaude will break on me all the time. And also, quite often, for most people watching, unless you've got a powerful computer, you're not going to be able to run like a Claude level local API, right? You'd have to pay for an API, which can get expensive. OpenClaude is kind of a little bit scrappy. It's a really powerful tool. And it can do stuff that other AI tools can't. But Claude is a bit more established. It's a bit more cleaner. It's easier to use, and you don't really need to set it up, right? So the 2 new features that dropped, the remote control and the scheduled tasks, are super useful because they're basically leveraging the most useful features of OpenClaude and then building it into their own tool. So if we have to do a head-to-head comparison, let's talk about this. I mean, OpenClaude, they can both do the same thing. So they can work whilst you're away. You can operate from your phone. You can schedule automatic tasks. The main thing that I would say here is, like, one of the biggest issues with, for example, Claude on these new tasks is that you can't operate them via like Telegram or WhatsApp or something like that, unless you connect like a NA10 automation directly with the API, which gets expensive. Whereas, for example, if you're using OpenClaude, that comes with that built-in functionality. And also you can customize OpenClaude a lot more. But overall, I would say, like, if you're already using Claude, you already love it like I do, then I'd probably use Claude and Claude Cowork and these scheduled tasks a lot more often. But overall, it's pretty cool. And also having to set up remote control, sometimes it doesn't work, or it can get a bit messy and that sort of thing. So you can see, for example, here, it's taking a while to connect. But yeah, overall, so which one should you use? Use OpenClaude if you've already set up on it and it's working great for you, right? You love its specific workflow automation features and you don't want to switch tools right now. Use Claude if you want the smartest AI brain combined with automation. If you're just getting started and you want one tool that does everything, or you like the idea of a tool backed by a massive AI research company, and use both, which is what I do, if you're serious about AI automation and you want to test what works best for your business, right? So the bottom line is, OpenClaude built its reputation on doing something special, letting AI work for you in the background on a schedule without you hovering it. This week, Claude basically looked at that and said, we're going to do that too, right? Is Claude's version as good, better, worse? Well, that's exactly what we've looked at today. It really depends where you're at. The one thing that I would say here is, the AI automation space is moving fast. So the tools that felt cutting edge like 6 months ago are getting challenged every single week.